Crookie. Uh, you probably predicted a tight game. I think you did. Um, was it down to just individuals again yesterday, or just that was just a collective? That's what we are. Because yesterday there wasn't like a glaringly obvious mistake from said person, but it was just collectively again. You look at it and just go, just not good enough.
It was just a very flat performance, wasn't it? Because I didn't think Fulham were great, and Fulham were a good side this season under Marco Silva. But if United had played to their capability, and I do think there's more to come from this team than we're seeing at this moment in time, then they would have beaten them, and we'd be talking about Palace at home as a really favourable quarter-final draw. It was a real disappointment, but nothing sums up modern-day Manchester United like Victor Lindelof, a player who has long outstayed his welcome and should have been let go a long time ago, stepping up and missing a decisive penalty in a shootout. Same with Johnny Evans skying one over the crossbar in the Community Shield, and Jadon Sancho, his last kick of the United shirt, missing a penalty in that shootout. So it's an absolute mess, to be honest. Again, the system didn't bring the best out of the team, and I think we're going to have to start talking about the elephant in the room that is that system that Ruben Amorim is sticking to. Another poor game, I thought, for Mazraoui. He's clearly struggling to play in that system. Rasmus Højlund, 18 games without a goal now, never looked like scoring again. I don't understand the justification for keeping him in the team. Garnacho provided a real spark off the bench in the second half. Obviously, Amorim was saying he had a slight knock. I find that a little bit difficult to believe, to be honest, bearing in mind it was taken off early in the last game and obviously wasn't happy about it. I think it's probably a little bit of punishment from the manager, but he's cutting his nose off to spite his face there. So, all in all, a pretty toxic mix, really. And again, they're just not scoring enough goals and creating enough chances because, as I say, this Fulham team were there for the taking.
They were there for the taking, and we didn't perform anything near the level required. There were chances created, Angelina, for both sides, so kind of even in that sense. But Crookie touched on it there, and we'll talk about it on a bigger scale now. The system that Ruben Amorim is presenting, this causes a lot of division in the fan base and a lot of conversation on the wider context. Stick or twist, stick to your principles, weed out the rubbish, don't change for these players. They've thrown managers under the bus before. They'll do it to you, Ruben. Don't you change. You've been brought in to play your system. Versus the opposing view, you're a manager. You don't quite have the tools you want yet. So wait until you get them and adapt with the tools to do the job that you have now. Where do you stand on that, Angelina? Because it is a big topic. And did you see that yesterday being an issue again?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this, the system, the formation, what he should be doing. I've touched on it a couple of times that there are other managers who do have specific systems. Someone like Mikel Arteta, he started his time at Arsenal playing differently to help the players. So it is really a tough one. I think the hardest thing with Man United is that we have players that I think they can wait out another manager. And I think that's where it's a little bit difficult for us because we don't have the players, but we also don't have players with the right mindset, in my opinion. So it is a bit of a risk with Amorim is if he does change it, how does that affect mentality? I've said it a million times, will players be thinking, yeah, we knew that wouldn't last long, that's fine, no problem. We touched on it before we started recording. It's almost kind of even if he does change it now, is it too little, too late? Should he have maybe changed it at the beginning, tweaked it a little bit more at the beginning? So it's really hard to say what the right thing is. But at the end of the day, no matter what formation you're playing, if you have forwards that cannot finish a chance, that have terrible decision making in front of goal, what can you do? We have Alejandro Garnacho came on and definitely changed it. But for me, to sit and watch the amount of times that he squanders chances, it's really, really frustrating. You look at somebody like Rasmus Højlund, who, like Crookie said, didn't look. I actually felt like I needed to ring some kind of authority because he was being bullied. Like it was sad to watch the way that he was being bullied. It was like, we need to call someone here because it was just sad. So I think it's really hard when you don't even have anyone that looks like they can score a goal. What even is going to come from, what have we got left? Like you say, you've got Europa League, you've got Premier League, does he try it in the Premier League? Maybe, but I worry if it would even change anything.
Yeah, I think now is there was a lot said about changing, and now you've just got the Europa League basically to try and get through, and there's so much glaringly obvious problems that we have. what good does it do him now to change at this stage? Now the league's gone, the FA Cup's gone. You're just going out on a whimper anyway. Do you tweak things just for Europa League? I can't see him doing it now. Joe, I know you got a massive community over there. You guys at Stretford Paddock. What's it been like in your community? Because you do see your comments first on different games. Everyone gets emotional. Then they do this on the watch-alongs. Then they retract. And then we're all emotional. We're emotional wreck. What's it been like over at Stretford Paddock? And how you see it about this system versus players thing.
I think you've summed it up pretty nicely. It's everyone up until just about sort of 15 minutes into every game, everyone's going, he's got to play his way. He's got to do it his way, because otherwise, what is he? He's a shell of a man. If he gives up on his system now, then he's got no principles, he's got no standards, he's got no morals. And then 15 minutes in, everyone goes, right, can we just have a little 4-4-2, please? Because this isn't going to work. Like, it's really hard to kind of go 90 minutes of the game watching terrible football twice a week going, this is the system for us, this works, this makes sense. But it is easy to forget that the last manager just got sacked this season with these players playing 4 at the back. So it's not like, do you remember all that success rate? It's not like Sir Alex has just left this summer and then, this is our sort of David Moyes. We were playing 4 at the back. We were 13th, I think, when Ten Hag got sacked. So it's not as though there's any guarantee changing back will even help things. The unfortunate reality is we're kind of letting this season sort of just run away, aren't we? We're basically saying, we'll see you next year. And if we can beat Real Betis in the meantime, get a favourable run in the Europa, and maybe by the time we play Tottenham, they've got a load of injuries, then we might be able to win a trophy. But we're kind of admitting that this season is a failure. And to do so, or, and just to sort of exemplify that, we're basically saying to the manager, you don't even have to win games this season. Do what you want, find out which players work, find out which don't, which is a situation I never thought I would see Manchester United in, where we're essentially telling the manager, if as long as you don't get relegated, you're all right. It's amazing. It is absolutely unthinkable, really. But I don't see any alternative to that now. What's the difference? You force the manager to change his system, hope that the players respond short term, rally up to 12th, and then next season we have to go through all this again. Is that really any better? I actually don't know if it is. And I know there's different opinions, but personally, I think find out who works, find out who doesn't. We'll see who we get rid of in the summer, and we'll go again. My only worry is we've got another 3 months left, and if we win 3 games in that time and you draw and lose the rest, will the remaining players in the squad even support Ruben Amorim? Will they even back him by the time the summer rolls around? You can spend 150 million quid, but if the 15 players that are still here don't like the manager anymore, where does that leave us?
Yeah, and that is I agree with that. Crookie, do you look at let's look at some of the individuals from yesterday. I was at, I don't know if was you at, no, you wasn't at the game, Crookie. You was at the old Dancing on Ice, which is fantastic from your point of view. But I was at the game, and Andre Onana, I don't know if you guys could hear it on TV, but the whole of Old Trafford is onto him. He didn't directly make a mistake that led to a goal yesterday, so I'm not going to pin anything like that on him. But the sheer chaos and panic that he's bringing to the team, in actually trying to slow it down and bring calm, was a bit counterproductive. Like, he actually got booed yesterday. I'll call it out as it is. Old Trafford was booing Onana last night because he came to catch a ball, didn't quite catch it, then jumped on it. He took ages on a goal kick, and then he should have just passed it to Dalot, didn't, and I think we lost it. Then all the players are running over. Don't know if you can see it on TV. They're all talking to him. Bruno's doing this. It just looks like chaos, and then that fed into the stand. So that's an individual I want to talk about. I also want to talk about, of course, Chido Obi versus the Rasmus Højlund situation as well. So just on those two, Crookie, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if we had a fit backup goalkeeper, then Onana wouldn't have played. If Bayern was fit, I think he would have been in net, and that might have given us more of a chance in the penalty shootout. When you look at what he did against Arsenal in the last round, I think Onana clearly is lacking confidence. I keep being told, actually, that if he could, he would not be against leaving Old Trafford and maybe ending what's been a pretty miserable time at the football club. But like with Rasmus Højlund, if that is to come to being, they're not going to get back anywhere near the money they paid for him. Aaron Ramsdale is available this summer for a relatively modest fee. I think he's the type of personality and the shot stopper that we need. I would be all in favour of swapping Onana for Ramsdale, because I think Onana has proved that he's just not good enough. In terms of Obi, I think he's got something. You know, he's very raw. At times the ball wasn't sticking to him, but he certainly asked more questions of the Fulham defence than Højlund did. I guess it's always difficult if you're chucking a young player into a struggling team, then you can actually hamper their development rather than help it. And I think that's what Ruben Amorim will be wrestling with. But it is time now to take Højlund out of the team. And listen, we're not going to go down. I can't even believe we're talking in those terms. We're not going to qualify for Europe. So actually, there's an opportunity now to give some young players a chance between now and the end of the season. So I would be all in favour of him starting in the next game. Maybe not against Sociedad, because I think away from home in Europe, you need experienced heads. But certainly the next Premier League game, which I think is Arsenal, isn't it? So there's a nice little story to be written there.
He'll run around in that game, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I was talking to an Arsenal fan in the bar at Dancing on Ice last night, and he was saying if he just stayed at Arsenal, he'd probably be leading the line for us now, bearing in mind their injury issues. So, yeah, I would certainly like him to start that game of the weekend. But I think against Sociedad, I'd probably stick Xerxes up front. Or Garnacho in the number 9.